Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, the weekly podcast brought to you by Melee Stats. I am your host, Gimme.Wheat. I'm a tournament seeder, top 100 organizer, and with me as my co-host is Edwin Budding, author of the Book of Melee. And for such a great week of Melee, obviously we're going to talk Smash Summit 11. We had to get an equally great guest. So we got Brandon, we got HomeMadeWaffles, Young Waff, the Waffle 77, known by many names.
Yeah,
what is going on?
That and this chilling, man. Thank y'all for having me. I'm glad to be here. I always follow the Melee Stats Pod, the Twitter.
Hell yeah.
How tapped in you guys are with every region is kind of insane. So I respect it. I'm definitely glad to be on. You know, I don't know. I just value you guys' work a lot. So
this obviously it goes the other way, right? Like you have been out here this entire time. Obviously this entire time, but like through so many different periods of Melee, giving Melee so many different things that, I'm not going to let you just give us a compliment without giving you one right back.
Appreciate it. Nah, I appreciate it, man. I try to just do what I can and, you know, just try to, I don't even know, man. I just kind of just do stuff and hopefully try to help the scene, you know, better off than, you know, then I left it. You know, I like to try to just do for people, I guess.
Yeah,
well,
I think you definitely have.
Yeah,
and not to draw a one-to-one analogy between what we did and what you did, like way back in the day. Right. But I'm just gonna say, I think in a very strange way, you were like the first bracket nerd. You were uploading like old videos with the faith that, you know, if enough people in NorCal or the West Coast would see it. Like you knew all the players. It wasn't like you were only recording grand finals or something. Like there's so much, you know, I know this sounds kind of weird to say because you lived it, but for the Melee scene, there's a lot of regional lore that's uploaded and immortalized on your channel. And that's the kind of stuff that like, I can't speak for anyone else, but that certainly helped bring me into the scene. Like it was something that I wanted to, you know, be a part of, to document things that happen across multiple levels of play, whether it's the national, local, regional, whatever. You were kind of like the first one contributing within that field for sure. Or one of the first ones, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I guess how that happened is like, I would like sets that you guys would see would just be memories in my head. So essentially, like, they never would get recorded. So, you know, one time I think it was Falcomus and Silent Spectre. It was a long time ago. They had this crazy like Game 10 set that like just no one recorded, and everybody was like, "Damn, like this is crazy." And then I'm like, "Bro, why does no one record this? This is insane. Like the fact that no one records this." So, you know, I had my little shitty laptop. I had a Dazzle DVC. Those just came out at the time. And then, I just started recording whatever I could and just put it on YouTube. Yeah, with the kind of not with the intent of it even getting big. It was just kind of like, well, we just have some frame of reference. And for the people who wanted to watch their videos and like see, like, you know, analyze, you couldn't do that back then because there was never a way to watch it. So, you know, it kind of was like two birds and one stone. And at the time, luckily, there was more people doing it. I think these channels go underrated. That, like, you know, people talk about me a lot, but there was like my boy JB, DVC Rec Room.
Yeah.
Stabbed by a hippie.
There was the Stab podcast. Oh my God.
Yeah, shouts to Stab. But yeah, there was like channels like that on the West Coast that really just, you know, and also Prague too. Prague was recording too at the time.
Cactar as well.
Yeah, Cactar. Scar. People don't know Scar is like original YouTube name was like, it was like True Sid something. I forgot. But a lot of those channels, you know, just kind of will either stop or, you know, you just wouldn't see enough. So I was just like trying to put as much out as I could. And just my goal was to just go to every tournament and like try to upload everything from every tournament, even the craziest 10-man local to just Genesis. It didn't matter. So,
well, one thing that I think, so you mentioned how you just kind of stepped up because there's no one else doing it. And I think that is something you've been able to do in so many different eras of the game. And what's most pertinent right now is that you were one of the first people to run like a real bona fide tournament during quarantine. Yeah, this was way before Slippy even came out. You were still out there. It was like you and like Save Us Untitled, I think, were the first like really big ones like pushing through. Like the entire time, Rona Rumble, Rollback Rumble, that has been so instrumental in setting the scene for like continuing Melee throughout this and putting players on the map. And I think that is that it's a return to LAN. So like we're back to what we were before, but it's not just like it, picked up March 2020, right? Yeah. Like we've gone through so much, and you can see that just by looking at the people who are there. So first off, I mean, we got to talk about like your experiences at Summit. I want to hear this because you're probably someone who's been there. I'm not sure if you've been there the most, but you definitely are high up on that list, right?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of summits. I've been to like pretty much most summits. I wasn't at the previous LAN one though. That was the one I missed, but I'm pretty sure like most of them I've been to. I'm fortunate in that regard. Shout outs to Summit for that.
So obviously a different kind of atmosphere at this one, or how did it differ from Summit's past?
I think the biggest thing was that everybody was just happy to be there. I think that LAN, just seeing CRTs again, beat everybody, and then having rollback too. Like there was Netplay there too. Should you want to play Netplay, or like say there's somebody who like maybe people want to warm up for Opsa or something, they could have like used that option, right? Whereas like the previous summits didn't have that. But yeah, I felt like it was definitely a unique experience. I think everybody was just really happy to be there and like just to be back in an environment where you could just see your opponent next to you. It was kind of weird at first, but it was cool. It was cool. I would say that's the biggest difference. I mean, we never had a summit where we came off of a pandemic, so it just seeing everybody there and playing and watching people play in person too was probably the best part. The social interaction that I forgot existed, it's like not Discord and Twitter messages over and over. So that was cool. That was probably the thing that stood out the most. It was just like the reunion aspect of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely feel that just through the stream, the excitement of just like being back. And I mean, personally, I cannot wait. So yeah, Aiden didn't give me an invite to this one, and I think I lost my chance now that Aiden's kind of gone. But yeah, like even just as a spectator, that like radiated throughout the stream, and nothing just like encapsulated that more in my mind than grand finals. So we got to talk about this. I know this is what people talked about all week. People writing articles, people calling Mango the GOAT, people saying Mango isn't the GOAT. So we got a lot to talk about. But first off, we got to get to the set that really set this all up, right? There wouldn't be a conversation like this if it weren't for those grand final sets. What was it like at the time watching that? Like, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
It was crazy. It was weird because commentating, it's not the same as if I'm just like watching, just like on a beanbag, just watching the match. Like it was different in that regard. But it was just kind of crazy to see. Just the back and forth, just the constant, like, how the crowd is like what really stood out to me. Like I forgot that shit. Like when someone's just on a roll, just hearing everybody like cheer for Mango and stuff, because Mango was pretty much who they were cheering for. Even when Zayn would get a combo and then everybody was just like, oh no, bring it back. Like that banter, you usually just hear it in Twitch chat or see it in Twitch chat. But hearing it live was it was different, man. It was super different to just you get like hear that feeling of the crowd and all that stuff in the back, even while commentating. So I can only imagine the players.
Yeah.
But yeah, that experience was I'd say the one that stood out to me the most. That part of grand finals.
One thing that I loved about the commentary, I mean, it was like kind of the whole end of the tournament, because that's just like how the tournament ended up shaping up, was that there'd just be moments where like no one would speak for like 30, 40 seconds, and it's just like bewildered by what is happening in front of us, right?
Yeah.
Like even when you have 4 professionals who are up there, sometimes it's just like, dude, you got to sit back and just watch. The melee that we saw was just so amazing. And Edwin, I know you wrote an article calling Mango the GOAT. Now we're gonna get back into this in a little bit, but first we have to talk about like this set. So I know you have some thoughts on what the best set of all time is. I want to hear this now. What's going on in your little brain?
You're talking, just to make sure you're talking to me, not Brandon, right?
Yeah, sorry, I said Edwin, but
I think this is it. I think it's very difficult to top the stakes of the first LAN, like the first big LAN event after a pandemic that, you know, maybe a year and a half ago we thought was going to kill our scene or really hurt it. I think it's so tough to beat those stakes combined with Mango doing something that people thought was impossible or close to impossible, and reverse 3-0ing Zane and beating him twice in a row on FD. So I think in terms of like the result, in terms of the actual, you know, flow of the set, in terms of the stakes at hand, the biggest prize pot in Melee history. Of course, it's been about a week since those 2 sets. I'm still basking in the afterglow or whatever. Maybe if you ask me in 5 months, I tone down my opinion, but I really think you can't go wrong between something like that. You know, obviously the original Mango versus Armada at Genesis, or, you know, Mango Zane at the Big House 9. Like, I think those 3, at least in my opinion, those 3 stand out. And right now my heart is telling me that this one is the number 1.
Yeah, dude. It is tough, right? And we're in like this beautiful position where we can have this conversation, right? Like Melee's long history, we can say, well, what's the greatest set of all time? That one from 2009 or the one from 2021? Like, imagine another game that could have that conversation. And how many great sets we've had that like would be by far and away like the best set in a different game that might not even be talking about. But to loop this back into what Melee Stats is doing, each year we do like a bracket, like a March Madness bracket in the beginning of March to figure out like what's the greatest whatever, you know, is the greatest set, what's the greatest moment. This year's the greatest set. And we had a little bit, it was not a Waiting for Game episode. We had a little bit of a different podcast with Sheridan, with Dr. Z, and Ambi and I talked about it. And yeah, I mean, I had to say Mango, Zane, the Big House 9, and that was just like 2 people like beating the shit out of each other at the highest level that, maybe not the highest level Melee we've ever seen or something like that, but just like 2 people playing peak performance, and it meant so much. Brandon, obviously you've watched so many of these sets that Edwin and I talk about with like fond memories. You were there for it. We're just watching those VODs, but you were there. So like, I want to hear, like, is this the greatest set of all time? It was Mango Armada at Genesis? Like, you definitely have a unique position that I think that no one else in this call has.
Well, I was not at Mango Big House 9, so I watched that on stream. It's like, yo, oh man, I think this is like up there though with the first one, Genesis 1. It's up there for me. It's hard to say, you know, especially because like now you have the high from this set, but Genesis 1 meant a lot. I think that was really important. I think the foundation of like what happened is like Genesis helped set that. However, with this set, what I really liked about it was the fact that there was like these 2 were the most dominant in the Netplay era also. And I felt like that meant a lot. going into it, to me. And just seeing that they've been the one and two seeds probably for like the past 2 years, I'd say. Maybe longer. I know you can put Leffen in there too, but with his situation, it's kind of difficult.
HBox was still
HBox too.
We like to clown on him for all the Netplay stuff, but I mean, he won Summit 9. He was still in that conversation. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right.
Right. You get interchange, like if there were a top 3, you could change that. Who would be that third person or where they would be? But I feel like Mango and Zane, at least in the past couple years, have been at least top 3. And I think you see them, especially during COVID, when they were clearly like 1 and 2. I think this, I don't know, it meant a lot, or just it felt good to see them go back and forth that way. And it being the first time they've played each other in person, at least in a tournament set, since the pandemic, it was really, I don't know, it was really good. It's hard for me to say which one, because I really don't know. I think that both sets are better for different things. You know what I'm saying? And I think what both sets did capture was, at any point when you question where Melee would be, a set like this happens. So like with Genesis, it was like Brawl was out. It's very like Melee was still probably, I'd say, the more dominant game in a way, but for a while it was dying, and then it was kind of coming back before Genesis, and then that set happened, and then everybody was just like a believer again. And I feel like that kind of happened again with Mango Zane. Whereas like the moment you feel like Melee is kind of like, is it doing okay? This type of set happens. And I think they're better, or they're both better for different reasons. It's hard for me to say which one is better.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the beauty of Melee, right? Is that we have all these, like we're talking about a Peach Puff set from 2009 and a Marth Fox one from 2021, and yet they're completely different in terms of gameplay, and yet we find ourselves, you're right, I mean, 100%. Like, Melee, I can't speak for 2009, obviously I wasn't at the scene, but Melee as it stands right now is so important that this happened. And I will say, probably, obviously, anytime Mango wins in this fashion, it's great. I just think like the set that we saw, even regardless of what was happening, like regardless of who came out on top, was so great for Melee, and just really what we needed to like boost through the rest of this pandemic into getting LAN events. And I think one of the really cool things that we have in Melee's history is the like idea of all these different sets meaning so many things in so many different ways, and just like what they can mean just to Melee, completely different. You know, you get rid of Armada versus Mango at Genesis, Melee's completely different. And I think, obviously, we have yet to see like the future from this, but I think if we have a different tournament, like if a different person wins, different set happens, even if it's Mango, Zane 3-0s or whatever, you know, if we don't get this, I think Melee could be different.
Yeah, it could. I think what the sets like this make me realize is, because I think a lot of people think of like win and what, like when it comes to like winning, I think I've always valued this, but I think how you win matters a fuck ton. And I feel like these situations like prove that. Like if this were, I don't know, if Mango, even if Mango still won the and didn't have to reverse 3-0 on FD, or just wasn't behind the entire set, it would still be impressive. But it was just like, yo, the fact that he won in situations where it was like, yeah, this is over. Like, I feel like at some point through both sets, we all kind of thought that, like, yeah, Zane's gonna win, and then he just didn't. And you're just like, like what? And like that's how I feel like how matters. Like the fact that he did it twice on FD, and you know, even just moments where Zane lost the first set and then caught his composure and then start kind of bodying him for a little bit.
Mm.
Like all that stuff kind of, I think it matters. Like the back and forth and just regardless of who won, I think how they played that set or those sets mattered a lot. So that's what
If
I
I
took
could,
from it, at least.
yeah, I want to mention one thing in particular with the set that I've seen annoyingly pop up a lot, which is the idea that like it means less because Zayn quote unquote played bad. And I just want to say I really hate the fact that like it seems as if the context in which this is being brought up is to either take credit away from Mango or to delegitimize how exciting the set was. I just cannot imagine this logic being used for any other very exciting form of competition. Like, can you imagine watching Wimbledon, like that grand finals from way back when Nadal and Federer went back and forth and Nadal won, and imagine someone being like, oh, like I didn't think it was that exciting. Like Federer played really bad. He just kind of choked in the last few points. Like no. I also hate it because it's like players don't always play at one static level, right? There's an entire range of potential like outcomes that you get from someone's performance. So like before this set, for example, in the last like 2 years or whatever, Zayn was 19-0 against like other Fox players who are right under Mango or not that far away, So presumably for 19 of those sets, Zayn was not playing at a 10 out of 10. He was probably playing at a 3 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 in some of them,
So what's that tier right there? That's like Lethin, SFAT,
IBW, Moki.
Yeah, damn.
And if you want to count fiction, like you can count him as someone else who got whomped by Zayn. But you know what I mean? Like I think that saying that it detracts from the magic of the set or how exciting it was is high key. Like it's okay to assess things like in a gameplay sense neutrally for your own benefit, like to learn about a matchup or to learn about different situations. But I think the way I've seen it get brought up by enough people is very like I don't know. I just think that's such a whack attitude.
You said the right word.
Contrarian. It's kind of like the contrarian. It's like the idea of like too many people enjoying a moment. And so they're like, man, it wasn't that hype, But like, if no one hyped it up, they'd be like, yo, this was insane,
This is actually the best. Yeah.
And even if Mango lost, right? Don't get me wrong. I do think Mango winning has a lot to do with how excited people were. I won't act like that's not a thing.
Of course.
But even if he lost, they would. I mean, people say the same thing for Mango. Oh, Mango was playing good until this part, and then he started playing bad, and it's like, I mean, someone has to lose, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like the assumption that someone loses because they're playing bad is, I don't know. It's like I feel like it wouldn't have gone to game 10 if both of them were playing bad.
Yeah. It's annoying. That's what Edwin used the word annoying. That's what it is. Like we're playing a 2-player game. This is not a one-player game. Like
humans are playing them.
If it's something where it's like one player and like Zayn like obviously fucks up, maybe. But we're looking at something where one of the key aspects of the game is like putting pressure on your opponent so they start playing bad, right?
Right.
Like I mean, obviously that's the push and pull of like that high levels that you see the pressure on one end and you see the composure on the other, and that's just like part of it. And you're right. We saw Game 10 Grand Finals. I don't know if you can say that anyone played bad in a Game 10 Grand Finals unless they like SD4 their stocks on Game 10.
And I get how people are saying like Zayn could play better or if Zayn would have won, it wouldn't be viewed the same. Like I see that in some ways. Like I could definitely like agree in certain aspects, but then there's times where I'm just like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's like not even just Zayn, but like Mango, both of them. I feel like they should can we just give them the credit? Can we just call it a good set? Like I don't know. It was fun to watch. Like you said, Edwin, it'd be one thing from an analytical perspective. If you're trying to learn the matchup, I think it's one thing and how you view that set. But as far as just pure entertainment, like just you don't have to know shit about the matchup or even the game to realize that this is a good game, that it's back and forth. Anybody can really win. And I think not knowing that is like, it builds excitement. I do think Mango winning helped because it was like I think he was the underdog going into that set for sure. Mm-hmm. And whereas like the Armada set, Armada was the underdog in the first time they played, right? So it was just different. But I don't know. Like all things aside, I don't think it was like a bad set at all. You know, and I think people thinking, but like I don't know. I'm totally fine with people thinking that it's the best set if considering the stakes, considering the situation, like context, all that stuff matters. If they had just played that and you said that was in 2017, that would have been a great set. But I think coming off of just this is the first time these two played in person. This is the first event we've had in person. It's the biggest prize pool ever, and it's all in person. I don't know. It just kind of tied in on just like a shit year and a half we've had, and just having to recover, and like things just keep getting better. Like, you know, at first there was no tournaments. There's tournaments, and then rollback comes out. Then we got a little something. We got a little window, and then and it's the same two players who have been dominating the quarantine era for the most part. I don't think they've really lost to anybody. They both lost to Wizzy. Outside of that, I feel like they only lost to each other, kind of. And it's cool to see like them finally just like duke it out in person. And also this is like, you could call it the end of like the online era in a sense, but then the beginning of how shit is once we go back to like this ain't gonna be the last time these two play in person in tournament. At least I don't think so. So
I hope not.
Yeah, and it just symbolizes the type of sets that they both have as individuals. Mango and Zayn, like, they did it at Big House and like they topped that. I think they topped it. I mean, it like at least as far as like what was at stake. And who's to say what they're gonna do next? Like if they both enter another big tournament that happens. I just think with all that happening, you just got to give them their props. Like, and not even just them too. Like when you think of Hungry Box too, like his situation going into the summit, coming back like the best he's been since the pandemic. Like, I think it was all good to see. It was good to see Amsa be still ridiculous despite having no practice. Like it was a lot of storylines to me. I thought that were impressive.
Yeah, this is kind of like a running gag on among Melee Stats members about Amsa, how every time he goes to a big tournament, all of us are like, I don't know, the field's gone a lot tougher. Yoshi's not as good. Beezem's around, Whisker's around. Everyone's getting Yoshi practice. I don't know if he can stay at the same level. And then he just goes ahead, beats Aklo, like.
Every time he's in Japan for like over 2 or 3 months, everyone's like, "Yeah, I think he's lost it," and he just comes back and does better than he ever did. Yeah. One thing I want to just like quickly rewind to something you said earlier that I thought was amazing. You talked about how like you could show this set to anyone, the Mango Zane set, and they would understand. Mm-hmm. And like we have spent however long this podcast so far talking about all the things that made this amazing, like how it's like a statistical anomaly for Mango to win against Zayn twice on FD and Fox Marth, just winning twice on FD. Obviously, he's done it as Falco in the online era, but still, just like, dude, what a feat to do. So like we can talk about all the context and like what led to this moment historically, what this means for the future, from a gameplay standpoint, how like crazy it is. But if you just show this to someone who like, played Melee when they were a kid, they would probably still think this is good.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure if you could say that about Armada and Mango at Genesis. I think like that's such an amazing set. I think you might need to be like kind of clued in on it. But yeah, I mean, just from like the Mango Zane sets that we talk about as being some of the best of all time, just like I think you can show those to literally anyone who knows of Melee, or like maybe they're an ult fan or something like that. Maybe they might not be connected to the entire like breadth of the scene, and they still get it.
Mm-hmm. And just the fact that I'm pretty sure, at least, you guys would know this, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time Mango played Zayn with Fox in bracket.
I think that might be true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, like that's fucking insane. Like
he beat him the first try.
Yeah,
the first try in a matchup people were saying was turning into an impossible one.
All right, like that's ridiculous.
So. What I want to talk about next, so I really do see Zayn. It kind of sucks because as much of a Mango fan as the entire scene is, I do think like Mango works so well as the foil to these like unstoppable monsters. Yeah,
Mhm.
you have Zane as this like unstoppable machine, Nada too, and
Yeah.
like it's really cool when he's able to overcome. And it kind of sucks to be that person who's like he's like the villain who has to overcome, because I think that what they do in the scene is so important. I think what Zane and Armada have brought to the scene, like I literally cannot talk enough about how good they are. And I think that it's like time for our next topic, right? We talk about Armada, we talk about Mango like this. We got to talk about it, right? This has been a conversation probably since I remember getting into the scene in like 2014 and still hearing the term GOAT thrown around all the way back then. And we have gone through so much in that time. It's so funny to me that we're even like mentioning that. So, Edwin, I'm going to let you start off. I know you had a bit of a column on MeeleeStats.co, Monday Morning Marth, where you explained like who in your mind is the GOAT. So I want this to be your platform to talk about it.
Yeah, so I basically took a look at three things. I looked at longevity, I looked at who had the better prime, I looked at how well the players performed against each other, and considered a lot of their like metagame impact as well. I guess that's four things. But anyways, so I think the comparison I made between the two players in my column was an imperfect one, but it's one that I think still serves utility for this conversation at least.
You're not going to mention Tom Brady, are you?
I am going to mention Tom
God.
Brady. But,
never mind. Next,
Brandon.
Yeah.
I've told Wheat this analogy before, but travel back in time to like 2009 or something. Okay. You're doing pretty well. The Steelers just won the Super Bowl, so you're happy. You're thrilled to talk about football. You remember how, you could find people who are willing to say that Brady was better than Manning, but most of like most talking heads or most like ex-pro football players in like 2009, 2010 or so, Manning was up like 4 MVPs to 1 versus Brady. Like Brady had just had his first like elite season with really good wide receivers like 2 years before 2007. And even by, I would go as far as to say by 2013 or so, when Manning was up ahead like 5 MVPs to 2, like Peyton Manning was the better player for most of their rivalry, like when the two were around. But if you ask any football fan today who they would consider the GOAT, it's almost maybe you get a few hipster picks here and there, but it's very difficult to argue against someone whose worst case like career assessment is that he was top 2 for 20 years. He basically had, so what I think is one of the strongest arguments for Brady is that he has a prime like 2007 or whatever year you want to pick that is as good as any other like peak quarterback, maybe better, maybe slightly worse, but it's in that conversation. He has unparalleled longevity to the point where like you could literally split his career into 2 and they'd be like 2 separate Hall of Fame careers. I'm bringing this back to Mango because I think there's something to be said about a guy who is basically like, early on in his career, like, like even by like 2009 or so, this was someone who dominated the top level of competition so bad. Like, remember, like 2 years before he like started clowning on everyone with Puff and Falco, like people were saying Mewtwo King had solved the game and everything. And I know Mewtwo King like johned a ton about Brawl and everything, but like think about how insane that is. He sunned Mewtwo King, he sunned Hungrybox, he whooped Zoo, I know Silent Spectre has a set, but he still beat Silent Spectre for the most part with a lot of different characters. Like he beat, he lost his first set against Armada, but beat him twice after that. He won Pound. Like this is someone who like, outside of those 2 losses to Kage, like he pretty much like dominated the entire field in his first like reign, which I think is something that people forget because it's very hard to conceptualize like how dominant that is to be against like the very best peers your country has to offer. So I think his prime is at least around, arguable with Armada's, even though I think like Armada would never lose to someone like Kage. But I think his longevity just like vastly outweighs him. And I think that it's going to continue to do that. So for me, I think Mango is like our Tom Brady. I think he's the GOAT.
I feel like you could have said that without talking about so much about Brady.
I think from my experience with Brady and Manning, at least, I always thought they were kind of even throughout their careers. And even towards the end of Manning's career, I think a lot of people still thought Brady was better, at least in those moments. Because you got to remember, too, even back then, Manning was always known as someone who would dominate the regular season. And when playoffs come around, it's kind of shaky. Brady might be second, third seed, but take you to Super Bowl every time.
Oh my God, this is gonna turn into a football. But like Brady would have bad performances in the playoffs where I'm saying this as a Patriots fan, like he'd have terrible performances where his team would win like in spite of him, but nobody remembered because the defense would get remember that Chargers game where Brady throws a pick and Troy Brown forces a fumble to like recover. Like no one talks about that because we ended up winning the game.
Or the Raider game, you guys robbed the ring.
Yeah, we did.
I know friends of mine are still mad about that. But
but you got the analogy. Yeah, you got the analogy.
I do think with Mango, what's impressive about Mango at least is I remember we won Pound. He probably was one of the youngest, if not the youngest player to win. Yeah. And then now I see he's like the oldest player, and that's fucking insane.
Shout out to Pikachu 942 for bringing that stat to the masses.
Yeah,
great, insane stat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the youngest and the oldest player to win like a major, which I mean it says a lot about him, right? I mean Mango has had a lot of losses, but like you could also argue like I think that's part. I think with Mango, the moment you think he's done for is just when he finds a way to win the game. Like there's so many times where he's like about to lose, expected to lose, and then he just wins. It's just like
it's hard to count him out. Like if you have a tournament where all the top whatever are attending, he might not always be the smart pick, but like you can throw that name out at any single point, and it's like 30% chance of happening, right?
Right. And then not even just him winning though, but I think how he plays. Like a lot of people, I won't say a lot of top players are necessarily flowchart, but a lot of them have like set ways of like, okay, yeah, that's the same plan or that's Armada plan. Whereas like Mango is just like chaos. It's how we all want to play the game, but we can't. And then you see that work on like the best player at the time. And you're just like, dude, this dude is different. Like, how is he able to just, put pressure on his opponent while just moving forward the whole time? Like, no, anybody else does that, they're getting 3-stock. But then he'll find a way to do that and then win the game or the set or whatever. And Mango too, I think what's crazy about Mango is he's always been a player who has his best moments have never been through winners. Most of the tournaments he's won tournaments and winners, but you can't think of them off the top of your head. You can think of Pound, you can think of fucking Summit, you could think of Big House, you could think of what was the other Press Start. He's had so many losers runs, more than any other player that I can think of, and it's just ridiculous. He'll lose round 1 and then when the Evo, like he's done it so many times, and I think that's what it's not even the fact that he beats his opponents, but he beats them after beating like 10 other people to get to his opponent. And it's just like, damn, it's impressive.
I think so. I want to talk about this. First off, I want to say, after so much Brady talk, I'm an Eagles fan, a lifelong Eagles fan. When we played the Patriots in the Super Bowl recently in 2017, the 2017 season, Edwin told me, he's like, you guys can win next year. Let us win this time. I want Brady to have 6 rings. I was like, Jesus Christ. Dude, never seen a more selfish person. I want Brady to have 6 rings, and Eagles haven't won ever. Like, come on. But to stay back on track, dude, Brandon, I think, like, in my mind, the list of, like, nebulous non-game accomplishments that Mango has is so huge. But if you want to call him the GOAT, you have to rely on that. You have to rely on his play style being so far and away unique. You have to rely on the fact that he was the best in the world with 3 different characters at separate times. Like, there's all this different stuff that you would have to say. The losers run thing is a great one. it's stuff that like doesn't show up if you just look at like a list of stats.
Mm-hmm.
But just like you would have to go out of game, right? You'd have to say, okay, he might have more losses to this level of player. He might not have won as many. Might not have won a higher percent of majors. But the fact that he was able to do all of this with so many different characters in his own way over a longer course of time, like that's the argument you have to use. Unfortunately,
Right.
I'm going to be the wet blanket. I don't think that argument stands versus Armada. Armada is just like one of these weird cases where maybe if Armada had like some weaknesses in his armor, that like there's a really good case for Mango. But Armada is just like this crazy, like person to have on top. We always talked about the gods, the streak, which Melee Stats has never been a huge fan of the streak because it was just like he hasn't lost to 5 gods in this long. He hasn't lost to the 5 gods in Leffen in this long. He hasn't lost to the 5 gods Leffen and Plup in this. But I mean, regardless, like for 10 years or like 8 years, whatever it was, you could probably list out all the people he lost to on like 2 hands, which no other player really had. I know that we brought up Pikachu 942. She also has some stats on who won, like percentages of majors, and I believe Armada was highest on that to like a pretty insane degree.
Yeah, I think again when they both played, I think Armada was clearly the better player. Like,
one thing I want to bring up, so I like the thing is like these stats. It's hard to say how much they really matter, because I could go up here like a like a Colin Coward or something like that, and just like have random stats and say that they matter more than anything else. But one thing that was really cool, I tracked this like back in 2017, and I updated it recently. If you looked at for the 5 gods in Leffen, if you looked at the people in that group who had the longest streak of wins over that group without having a loss to anyone, Armada has the record with 11 straight. And he did it twice.
Right.
Like he did that twice. I think next you get like Mango and HBox. Actually, PP has like 8 or something like that, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, the Royal Flush stretch, like right before Mango beat him twice.
From like Canada Cup to Royal Flush.
Yeah, that stretch was ridiculous. Or like even if he'd lose a set in grands, like he'd still win the event. I think it was like 6 tournaments or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
That I remember living through that and thinking like, this is it. Armada's just never going to lose again.
Right. And
we want to talk about tournaments that were great. Like that was one of the grand finals that was great. But yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible feat to see Armada do all this. And I've been like gushing about how like we're so lucky to have like be in the Melee scene. But what other scene do we have someone who's just like ruled over their competition with such an iron fist? Like literally lowest placing ever was 5th, and I think he got that twice or something. And yet, there's an argument to be had. Such a Melee thing. Like, the argument would have to be, some sort of Mango incorporates Melee. Like, he encapsulates Melee more than Armada does. It would be something about how the level of play that he's had over characters over time. Like, I think it's amazing that we can have this argument, and it speaks to just, like, Melee's ability to thrive and resilience. That this is even an argument that we can have.
Yeah, I think the time thing you mentioned is particularly good. I wouldn't say that much for characters, but like for time, absolutely. So if Wheat is voting Armada, I'm going Mango. Brandon, you're the tiebreaker.
I can't. I really don't want to, because like it's like with Armada, it's like the fact I mentioned how Mango always has this fuck ton of losers runs. Armada doesn't have those because he didn't lose.
Because he destroyed it.
So like it's kind of like do you value peaks over consistency kind of thing? And even still, Armada's peaks were insane too. Armada's had runs where he's done stuff like that. Rarely, but I mean, it's usually because he just would 3-0 everybody. People would get games off Armada and pop off. Like, that's insane. And then the fact that he picked up Fox was just like, yo, I think y'all don't even use your character correctly. And then made his own shine, the Armada shine. Like that wasn't, nobody did those shines on stage like that because they thought it was just too risky. You'd kill yourself. But Armada, like, perfected that shit, and then was able to beat people in matchups, not only the ones like he struggled with, but even matchups that were good for his opponent versus Fox or whatever. Like I've seen him beat Mars. I remember he 4-stocked Mewtwo on FD. Like, who does that? Like, what? You know, it's hard for me to, I don't know. And I'm not even trying to like not pick a side to avoid like controversy. I genuinely just don't know.
I don't know,
Because it's hard to say. And then, even with them two in mind, like, you think Left is still there, Mewtwo King is still there. Mewtwo King has done that too with the manga arc. Like, he's won in different eras with multiple characters. Like, it's hard to say. And I think Zane is one of those people. The only thing that holds him back is just the fact that he hasn't been around long enough. But this conversation in 5 years could be totally different. Yeah. Should Zane?
Yeah, if HBox comes back and just like starts dominating everything for the next 2 years,
Hungry Box,
or even the next year, like, right, he's not that far off.
It's hard to say, man. I do love the fact that it's debatable, regardless of who you pick, and both of you guys' arguments are sound. Like,
maybe the beauty is in the debate. Maybe it's better if you just don't even pick a side. You leave it open.
I hate not picking a side, but it's hard for me to say because I think they're good for different reasons. Like, why I would put them, it's kind of like it's my same bullshit answer, I guess, with the Mango Zane set over the Armada Mango set, like those two, like which one's better? It's like it's kind of like the same thing. Like, they're better for different reasons. I think it, depending on what you would value, I think it depends on what you value more. I think if you value like peaks and like overcoming odds, I definitely would give that to Mango. But if you just want to argue like just consistent dominance, like, that's Armada. I feel like the what hurts Armada is the fact that type of shit gets overlooked. I think the loser's run looks more glamorous because you see the protagonists get beat down and then they come back and overcome their obstacle. But when that doesn't happen, like if there were a movie where the guy just won every round, it wouldn't be entertaining.
Yeah, right? Like we're not taught to root for like the Ivan Drago, right? Like, we're taught to root for Rocky. So it kind of sucks because Armada does lose out in some of these like huge moments because he's the one who's expected to win. But that's what kind of makes those sets where he loses. You know, like we talked about the Melee Stats March Madness. So many sets in our top 16, top 8, all like had Armada in them. He was the one. We had top 64 seeds. He was the one who showed up in the most of them. Some winning, a lot losing, just because like his stature as this like god of Melee was so high that like being able to beat him, you were automatically like witnessing history.
Right. No, for sure. The fact that like, Mango getting 5th, no one would give a damn. Right? Armada getting like 3rd is like a big deal. You know, like that and that's like that, I would say that's like the biggest difference. That's the biggest difference between them all, or between the two of them, right? But whereas like Mango at any given point can literally beat anybody. Whereas like Armada, he's just expected to beat everybody. Like, those are two different standards, I'd say. But I mean, I honestly don't know. I think Mango's like the Brady. If we're arguing tenure, like, that shit is impressive. Being able to be one of the best damn near 14, 15 years ago, and then still being one of the best now. I mean, it's also hard to say too because Armada stopped. And I guess what would you value, like, you know, someone just rising, falling, and able to consistently show that they can be the best in those eras by doing that, or someone who was good as fuck and just dominant for like 5-6 years, just beating everybody. I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I can give y'all an answer, but
to be determined later.
I'm sorry. I just I like how Mango plays more. It's more entertaining, but like, I don't know if that's better than Armada. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like, that's kind of that has nothing to do with them being goats. Like, I don't know. I think they're both goats in their own right, but I hate this situation because like not picking a side is like it's shitty.
Can I bring up another
I think
greatest
it's
of all
beautiful.
time in the making?
What's up?
So our next topic is breakout performances, and I want to give a big shout out to the potential future Donkey Kong greatest of all time, Ringler,
Oh, let's go, Ringler.
who won the VIP bracket. This is the story that everybody doesn't want to talk about, but I'm gonna bring it up. The Ringler has been on a tear lately. If you've been following his Verdugo West showings, you saw this bracket beating Ty twice and beating Nez, beating Vish, who's hella good himself. I think this just about seals the deal for me. I think Ringler is legit. I could see, on Ringler's current trajectory, I could see them maybe maybe get a few more top 100 wins. But by next year, come the Return of Land, I think Ringler's going to take a few names at Genesis.
I could see it.
What an interesting one to pick from all the people we saw at Summit, from all the breakup performances. I respect it, but I mean, I like Brandon. We've been gassing you up this entire time, well deserved, and I think something we have to talk about here is that like coming into this, I think that a lot of names would seem really unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just imagining Summit is one of those things. Summit, Big House, Evo, Genesis. It's stuff that like I think a lot of people who aren't huge fans of the game still like to follow. And I know I still have like friends who really don't follow Melee, but will message me anytime like a Summit or Genesis happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so funny because if you are someone who only follows the game, those like 4 or 5 events a year, imagine the last thing you saw from Melee was Summit 9, and now you see Summit 11, and like half the names are just these like random names. But I mean, they have put their time in, like given Rollback Rumble and all the other like wonderful online events that they've been able to enter. Like these players have been really able to make their names for themselves. And I think the coolest thing is that aside from Yingling, who like I've talked about, he had the greatest performance, like Summit performance of all time before Summit even started. So like this is not shade to him, but like those 3 that we talked about, Logan, Aklo, Kadorian, just like 3 players who might not be considered the top level, who like all were able to show their stuff. Each one of them had a win over like a top 20 player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all got big. Even Toussaint, I feel like Toussaint like progressed a lot from like from before quarantine to now.
Yeah, I think he just had a tough bracket. Like a lot of people who are good against Puff.
I mean, that's Summit, right?
He beat none too, so
true.
Like that's fucking impressive. Like I think all those names, like everybody there, like LSD, like I literally didn't know who LSD and I knew who Akla was. I didn't know who LSD was until COVID, like straight up. I saw him on an online tournament just like destroying. I think it was Bobby, and he beat Johnny. I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logan's story is amazing because they I mean, same thing. Like I knew about him. I knew about the like performances that they were able to put up. But it's one of those things like those people who really like come from nowhere. It's really hard to pick. Like a lot of these people who will pop up out of nowhere, I'll be like, oh yeah, I knew that. But if it's just like a random top 300 player, it's like really hard to see their trajectory. And then out of nowhere, I really don't know like when it started, but it was definitely with Slippy, and we'd see wins, like really good wins, and then we'd see like hit a roadblocks like S2J or none or Lod's still a huge one, but like all these roadblocks all these roadblocks just end up getting wins over like the next time they played. Like that was one of the more amazing things about their like set history is you would see these players who just like really be really difficult, and then next thing you know, next week, next tournament, whatever, it's a completely different story. And I think we saw even that adaptation. We saw that against Axe. Like the fact for a Marth main to have never played against like a Pikachu even near that level, and to never have played against Axe to end up taking a game, like I cannot give enough props.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. I mean, Axe and I can't remember the last time anyone's beaten him with Marth, let alone take a game. I think K-Toy was the only time I've seen him lose to Marth, and that was in like 2009 or 10 or something crazy like that.
There's stories about Ty doing it once, but I mean, even
Ty,
then, if that was like, it's different beating someone at like a local or regional. It's different than beating someone at like a huge major. So yeah,
right. In a matchup that he hasn't lost in forever, you know, and even someone like Zane, who's you would argue, I think most of us would say Zane's a better player right now to Axe, but even he hasn't, you know, even he hasn't gotten a dub on Axe yet. I'm pretty sure, like outside Axe's Pikachu, I'm pretty sure has not lost to Zane, if I'm not mistaken. And they played how many sets? Like at least 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah, they played a few. Obviously, that was one big thing that we were getting into. Summit was like, can Zane win? Like, if he has to play Axe, that's a scary thing. Even though his Roy like 3-stocked his Pikachu at some point, like whatever crazy stuff happened like that, it's like, okay, well now back to like reality. We got to figure this out. Obviously, we didn't get to see that, but yeah, you're right. Aklo really stepping up. Aklo is the type of player, and I think this applies to Logan and Kadoran as well. Just like all around strengths that I think really work for like longevity in the scene. I've talked about this on the show before, but I think like if you have a player like a Marth player in particular, who's like A+ at the Fox matchup and like D at every other matchup, they'll probably get like a lot of hype around them like really quickly. Mm-hmm. But if you have a player who might put all those skills into like even levels, you know, if you have someone who's like a B level at every matchup, I think that those players kind of go underrated. But the things with those players are over time, those are the type of players who I expect to have like the longevity, expect to like have the continued rise. And I see this from all 3 of these players, even though we did see like huge rises from each of them. I don't know if you would have called this. But yeah, I mean, the way that Aklo plays the game just like seems so clean, precise. And like, I feel confident going into 2021, 2022, these LAN events, that like he's not going to be a flash in the pan. And same thing with Kadoran and Logan. Like, I think it's amazing that the representation we saw from the Slippy kids, you know, the online grinders, whatever you want to call them, it's been like they really, really showed up. And obviously, it's tough to talk about Summit 11 without talking about Pipsqueak or Leffen. Pipsqueak definitely is in this tier for me as well. Like, if we got to see him play, I think that he would have shown other amazing stuff. And like when we eventually see him play, if he's able to come to Summit 12, and I think he's
auto invited to the next.
Yeah. I mean, cool. I think he's also got like a free major still. Dude, poor guy. What a wonderful player. One of the saddest things that I've seen recently was his trip to Summit, obviously. But what this means, Summit 12, you know, hopefully we get to see him. Hopefully we get to see him at like a Genesis or whatever US major. He gets a free flight too because he's already got that in the bag. So like this level of play from this like smaller group of players, this group of players who like barely top 100, not even top 100 for all this, that's the breakout performance for me. Not Ringler, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed none of you wanted to talk about Ringler more, but I understand.
Nah, Sam Ringler's my guy, man. It was cool seeing him. Like, I met him at one of the first summits, and he was like he's just a struggling DK player. And I thought eventually he would just change characters and play Marth. And he's talked about it before, but my man stuck the course and he's ridiculous, man. Like, shouts to Ringler for that. I don't know. Do you guys want me to talk about like a breakout performance from Summit in particular, or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, Summit was the chance that we like got to see all these players. If you want to give other shout outs, I mean, obviously you got people like Ben who did perform well throughout the year. Like, if you got players you think deserve some roses, then go for it.
I think a player that's good that to me has gotten better in quarantine, no one talks about much, is Poppy. I think that guy's really good. I think he's definitely one of those players. Obviously, like just coming off this weekend, Tyler Swift is also one of those players.
Yeah, huge performance.
Yeah,
possible best Pikachu player in the world. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of Pikachu,
that was
OKP is another one. It's really good. There's a lot of players
Mhm.
that just kind of slip up. My boy John, the real thing. I think that dude is super underrated.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention him because
Yeah.
throughout quarantine, obviously he's someone who's been top 100 for I think the past 2 years, so people should know about him. But like slowly but surely, like on a pretty quiet level, just like every time he enters something, has some pretty good wins.
Mm-hmm. Elliot. I think Eddie has gotten a lot better too. Eddie Mexico.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good players, man. Of course, you got the Bobbies, the Bens, the Dorans, all of them. But I guess if I had to pick a breakout performance from Summit, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with the H God, bro.
You know what?
I think he's back.
Sure. Why not?
I mean, that's what is on everyone's mind, right?
I thought he was gonna get 7th. I'm not gonna hold you. I really did. It looked like he could have won that tournament, even though he lost to Mango and Zane in 3-1s. I think had those gone to game 5s, I don't know, man.
There was a world.
Yeah,
that's a scary thing with HBox is that like if you are a fan of the person who's playing against, like I was having heart palpitations throughout the entire sets, and then you look at them and they're 3-1s. It doesn't even go to game 5, but like during halfway through game 4, everyone's like, he's got to win this or else I don't want to see this go to game 5. That's just how HBox is. And yeah, like obviously we were kind of missing a lot of that X factor throughout all of quarantine, all of the online tournaments. I think that's an amazing answer because we have the players I mentioned, the 3 huge Netplay grinders from this tournament all got top 20 wins. Aklo beating Axe, Pidoran beating SFAT, and I believe he beat Moki as well. And then LSD beating Moki as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
a good set with IBDW also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like, and the obviously, the Aklo Logan set was wild. But I mean, like, I mentioned those players who are really up and comers, kind of who are proving that, like, despite the fact that their come up was on Netplay, they are to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, you've got HBox, who's winning his sets and then going on mic and saying that Netplay really doesn't count for anything. And like, at this point, we have to ask: is Netplay real? Edwin, you're about to say something. I don't want to cut you off.
Thank you. It was functionally real over the pandemic. It was literally the only way we could continue to have our scene in any kind of meaningful, structured capacity. Is Netplay 1-to-1 to CRT? No, of course not. Or I don't think it is. But I think considering that was the limitation on our ability to play Melee, it mattered during that time, and that's all. And like, you can't, it's so easy to say after the fact that like, oh, I knew Hungrybox was going to come back and get 3rd or whatever. I think that's such weak shit. Like, Hungrybox literally, like, he entered tournaments a lot. I'll give him credit for that. But like, sure, he was holding in the whole time and like not paying attention through half his sets. But like, if you're consistently doing that, that's part of who you are as a player. Like if you keep doing that for a year, like in the only format of the game that we have, like, of course people are gonna see you like that. Like, yeah, I won't lie. Like, this is really impressive that he came back and like beat Amsa, beat all these people that might have beaten him online, like consecutively in a row. He overcame
the Cody win is really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I know that one didn't ended in spectacularly awful fashion, but still, like that's an incredible return to form. But I don't know, like is a 1-to-1 with CRT or like doesn't matter for the future? I'm not sure, but it mattered over the last year and a half, and we need to stop pretending like it meant nothing.
It's so funny how the #1 ranked player in the world, Hungrybox, basically sandbagged for a year and then goes back to normal. Is like, yeah, I can't believe you guys thought any of that mattered. It's like, well, I mean, I know you weren't treating it right, but like, it feels really funny to like get on anyone's case who saw him like get 3-0'd by Fable and be like, okay, maybe there's something missing here. Maybe he's not going to be the level of getting third right away. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, what you mentioned is like it mattered for the moment, and I'll do one better. I think that it's like local data, right? We would get into this when there was a top 100 to talk about. Melee Stats is always a huge proponent of locals because what locals do is it fills in the gaps, right? It's like we have all these majors, but not everyone's able to go to every major. So you have all this data against like the top players, and then what fills in those little gaps? Like it's like the muscle. It's like not the backbone of it, but it's just like everything, like all the fibrous little things filling in everything between. And that's Netplay to me, right? Like if someone beats someone at a local, whatever. Like if S2J loses to Mega Christmas at a local, who cares? Now, if Mega Christmas suddenly is 12-0 on S2J, that's a different story. So I'm going to look at Netplay the same way, right? Like, I'm not suddenly going to say that Harry Poggers is like a top 20 player, but if you have someone like Ben, 8-3 with HBox, and then other like really impressive records across the top, I will say that that's someone who obviously has shown their talent. I think picking like one result from LAN to say that Netplay doesn't matter, it feels like it's not the whole story. So I don't know. I'm not about to say that. It's
absolutely not the whole story. They're acting in bad faith.
Nah, I'm kind of. I guess if I had to pick, I'm more with Wheat. Like, yeah, like I'm with you, Edwin, that it's not 1-to-1, but like to say it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's bullshit. I think it does matter to an extent. Otherwise, people wouldn't pop off when Hungry Box would pop off when he won. I definitely think that shit matters. And I think the fact that, like I said earlier, Mango and Zane were pretty much dominating online, and they were in the grand finals offline. Like, LSD and Aklo, they still got wins on the people that they've beaten online, offline. So I do think that shit translates. Will I say it's like exactly the same? No. Well, I think certain things probably be different in person and than it would be online. Of course, you're not at your own home. You don't have to worry about internet, all that bullshit. But I definitely think it matters. I'd be lying. Like if somebody was placing in, like if somebody was beating Mango and Zane consistently online, I think they would be able to do it offline too. Personally,
we gotta get Leffen back here then.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be able to do it. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, Leffen could, but I just think the idea that it just happened online, so it doesn't count is bullshit. Because then you wouldn't see people getting salty. You wouldn't see it. When it truly doesn't matter, no one would play it. Mm-hmm. No one would give a shit about the result, and no one would even care to host tournaments. So I definitely think Netplay matters, but I won't sit here and be like, oh, it's more valuable than offline. I think that's a crazy ass statement. I think we all know like offline is where it's at. But I think online is good for people like LSD and Aklo. Like Aklo literally never left New York beforehand. And the fact that he was able to do that and still get wins is proof that he wasn't just good online. Same with LSD or Logan. I'm sorry. They were able to get wins offline. And these were the same wins that they would have gotten online, I think. So I think it does. Like what you said, okay, Johnny loses. I wouldn't use it Mega Christmas, but if Johnny loses to somebody offline once, that's whatever, right? They happen. L's happen. But if there's a point where that same person is beating Joey, is beating Fiction, Kadoran, West, you gotta look at that shit. I think you have to. Yeah, I guess that's how I feel about Netplay. I think it matters to a degree. So I think it matters, but not as much as LAN. Basically, long story short.
One thing,
you'd rather get top 64 at you'd rather get top 64 at Genesis than you would at like a Netplay cross regional or right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Sorry, wait, go on.
One thing I want to say is that I'm not sure if everyone who... So, okay, I don't want to say that anyone who did well online is now going to do poorly on LAN, I think it's that there was a bunch of people who didn't play online who are still going to be nasty. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, that player's wins are fake, they're going to be bad now. It's they are now being thrown into like the Shark Tank with all these other great players. I think there's players we barely saw a bit of during the online era who are able to like really show their stuff, who are locals monsters. Null, we mentioned, Army, like both players who already have shown local LAN results that have just been putting up like Fiction. Dude, Fiction with I don't even know if he's going Falco anymore. I don't know if it's laserless Falco anymore, but like winning locals over West Balls, over Kadoran, taking I don't think he actually took a set over Army. I think it was like 3-2. But I mean just like performances from these players who I think that in an online era we wrote off, right? Because you don't see them, you don't think about them. And then with LAN coming back, like everyone comes out of the woodwork. And it's not to say that online results don't matter. I think those players are still going to be good, but I just think they're now being thrown into this realm where you have all these other good players. So if you see someone who doesn't pop off, it's not because they got worse. I think it's just like the competition from LAN is just going to be so stiff. What do you got to say, Edwin?
100 grand is going to make us 100 grand.
100 grand. 100 grand is buying us a yacht.
That's 100 grand. I was just playing 100 grand today. We played yesterday twice. We played yesterday twice, and we played today. And I might play him again later. I've always known 100 grand is sick. I've always known it. Like for like the last 2-3 years, he just doesn't enter shit. But yeah, I'm on the 100 grand wave too. Like,
what'd you think of him?
Nah, he's ridiculous. Like I'm trying to shit on every Marth I play, and like playing him definitely helps me with that. I've been playing a bunch of Mars, and fuck, man, 100 grand is ridiculous. I don't know. I have nothing but good things to say. And he's just a good dude, man.
We would have some comments saying that we talk about 100 grand too much on our podcast. Brandon, I want to loop you into this. 100 grand is going to make us so much money. We're at Genesis. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll do this at main stage. Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to yet, but whatever we're at, it's going to be side bet central. We're going to go to the Zoomers and we're going to make side bets. And we're going to go to the Boomers and we're going to make all these side bets. We're going to be like, who's this Dark Atma guy? I've never heard of him. You think he's really going to beat, just like whatever, some random, like, you think he's really going to beat Kubi? Right, and then we go to the Boomers, and it's like, who's Beezim? I've literally never heard of this guy.
Right.
We're gonna play both ends.
There are certain names where, like, if you bring up, say, to like in my era, if I bring up 100 grand, they're gonna be like, who, right? But then those same people, I fuck it. I'll use myself as an example. Damn, I didn't know he was good at the game. Like those are Zoomers, right? Or you'll be like, "Yo, Vish plays like that." Those are the Zoomers.
Yeah, it's so funny. People didn't know that Vish was good. It's like, no, he's been solid for a while.
Right. And though it varies based off who you talk to, but at least as far as 100 grand, I would never bet against 100 grand.
Well, we gotta find the people who don't know who 100 grand is. That's the thing. You go up to them. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's my buddy right there. Dude, he's so good. He's PR'd. And it's like...
Nah, yeah, right? And to say that, when I was playing 100 grand in my stream, half the people were like, yo, who is 100 grand? They're like, is this a Smurf? I'm like, no. No, this dude is a real deal. He's just that good. Like, I don't think they know he's like top 50, at least in my eyes. I think he's that good. Maybe higher.
He won a local over Ben.
He did win a local over Ben.
Right. And shout out to him. I'm glad he's a shout out to 100 grand if you're watching, man. Fucking love 100 grand. Even before he was like godlike, he would always come in the streams and show love. Like he would come in my stream, Phil's stream, and then he's like still had that attitude, right? I feel like there's a lot of players when they get good, they kind of, I won't say they switch up, but the vibe's kind of different, right? Whereas like with him, it's just always the same, just consistently cool ass dude. He was just like, yo, let's play more. I'm like, hell yeah, man. If I ever upset a Marth in any of these tournaments upcoming, it's literally 100 grand.
It's all 100 grand. Well, we got our we got our H box talking, we got our 100 grand talking. I think that's basically what we have to talk about those every episode. Also, I guess what else do I do every episode, Ed? When I mentioned that Leffen, well, Leffen obviously we haven't been able to see him. Every time we used to have old podcasts with Leffen, where Leffen was playing, I'd be like, I know he lost now, but like I'm really confident that he's like going to be able to turn this around. No matter what,
yeah, every time
he can lose to anyone. And I was like, I don't think this is a trend. So now that I have said that, I think we hit on the trifecta. And I guess we keep hitting on all this stuff. I love this conversation, but we have got some really wonderful questions from our Patreon. So each week we ask for questions from our Patreon. Usually it ends up with me saying that the Patreons didn't really come up with good questions, but they did this week. So we got a lot to go over. Here, let me see if I can find a good one, because they were doing a lot of good stuff. Oh, here's a good one. So this is from our friend SF. What could the community be doing better to support online TOs?
Okay. Are these questions to you guys or to me?
Yeah.
They're to you.
Okay. What you said, what could the community do to support online TOs?
Yeah. Like, what could it be doing better right now than it is? I mean, this is just TOs, but it also says online TOs, so I know that's kind of a more like pertinent thing right now.
I do think depending on who you are, I'd give a different answer. But I guess from anybody's sake, I think, retweeting the tournaments, watching the tournaments. I think entering the tournaments always helps. Should you want to donate to a TO, that could work. But I think just supporting the event is probably the best way. Whether you don't have a following is good. If you have a following, like say Zane, a lot of what helped Rollback Rumble was those fucking Roy runs he would do. And that shit carries over a lot. So I think if you really want to support a TO's event, just do your best to enter it. Shouts to Yamasaki. Yamasaki will enter Rollback Rumble and then donate the 10 to the pot, like every time. And like shit like that goes a long way, I think. And it just makes the job for the TO more like effortless, I guess. It gives them like confidence that they're doing decent events that people want to participate. So I think just getting involved in that way, you don't have to even directly thank the TO or anything. You just enter the event. I mean, pop bonus, you could, that's up to you. But I think, retweeting the streams and entering the event, I think help the TOs immensely online.
What do you think about people? Sorry, I just had a quick follow up to this one. Sorry, Edwin, I'll let you ask after. What do you think about people who are stream their own runs? Because I know that it's obviously, you might get people who are watching just their stream and not the stream of the tournament itself. But I feel like having a top player be able to get something out of what is just basically a local, right? They got their own stream going on, so it's beneficial for them to be streaming that. Do you think that helps, or does it hurt because it's taking away views from the mainstream?
I personally think it helps. I know some people might think it hurts. Dude, one of the dopest things, because, for Rollback Rumble, for longest, we won't, with the big one, it was different because it was a big event, but normally we don't stream shit before top 8 because we want the integrity of the tournament to be smooth, right? And one of the biggest confidence boosters is refreshing on the Twitch chat and Melee. And everybody just has Rollback Rumble run. Rollback Rumble stream. Someone always says Rona Rumble, top 32, Rollback Rumble, blah, blah, blah. And you just go down and everybody's streaming their runs. I think it's beautiful, personally. I'm a huge advocate of that. I definitely champ people to stream their own runs, especially, too, sometimes on our end, the stream acts funny or does some dumb shit. You can just watch the player you're watching stream. And then sometimes, you might not want to hear, me on the mic or our layouts or whatever. Sometimes you want to see what the player is doing directly. Sometimes they take breaks and talk to chat or whatever. I I don't know. I'm a huge fan of it. I usually will never. The only time I was weird about it was with the Big One teams, and that's because we used VODs and we didn't want to spoil the results, so we had them play off stream. But normally, especially if we're not streaming it, we highly encourage people to stream their runs, just because they're fun to watch. And sometimes, like while I'm doing stuff in the tournament, and I'm waiting for top 8 to happen, I'll just go through everybody's runs and make sure that things are going smooth, and it's cool. I know I advocate it a lot.
Hell yeah. Edwin, I know I cut you off. Sorry. What was your question?
Vlurk has a question for you, Brandon. What's something that stopped being true about the scene that you miss?
Blur asked me this.
No, Vlurk.
This is Vlurk.
Oh,
This is
I thought you said Blur.
Our Dutch Samus patron. No, we are not accepting Blur bucks right now through Patreon.
What stopped being? Oh, damn, that's a good question. What stopped being true about the scene that I missed? I think what I missed. I think when we talked about locals and stuff, no matter how big or small the tournament was, everybody would come through. It'd be like Mango, Joey, Dewan, fucking Silent Spectre, Zoo. Like that would be like the standard. It'd be like 30 people, but them tournaments would be some of the best players in the world. We would get them regularly, like every 2 weeks, every month or whatever. And like now it's like a little harder for the top competition to want to enter. And I get why they don't. They got streams and other obligations. People are older, all that stuff. But man, it'd be nice because I watch Street Fighter and I watch NLBC. Shout out to Team Spooky. But they'll host the NLBC and like Punk enters, Adam, and all their top players will enter that shit. And I feel like that's not really a thing in Melee as much as it used to be. Whereas back then, a lot of top players would just enter everything. And like, I get why now though, like with streaming and just, other ways of making money, it's hard to justify taking time out for a tournament. But man, I do miss it sometimes because it'd be nice to see Mango Zane like in tournament on like fucking Wednesday or whatever, man. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm selfish, but I miss that shit, But I get why it doesn't happen, and I don't think I'm not mad at the players for not doing that, But I just miss it. But yeah, that's probably what I would say that I miss. That doesn't really happen as much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like as much as we talk, like, dude, that's such a great question because as much as we talk about how Melee has evolved and Melee is so great right now, it's really cool to hear. And it's not even like a negative thing, right? It's not necessarily like saying, "Oh, Melee's bad because it's not this." It's just like saying how Melee can be different. And I think people would still say Melee's great right now. Well, yeah, good question, great answer. I appreciate that for sure. I'm gonna go to a question that Wills, the Georgia TO, he asked. So he asked about the next Black Empowerment tourney, and I think like we talked about what you've done for the community in terms of like Rollback Rumble and all this other stuff, and I think that's up there, right? The Black Empowerment Melee Invitational, like you really killed it with that, and I think gave something to the scene that it wasn't, it's one of those things where like maybe not everyone expected it, but when you have it in front of you and you're able to watch it, I think you're able to appreciate that. So do you have anything, maybe specifically another Black Empowerment Invitational, or maybe something that is along those lines in the same spirit? Like, do you have anything up your sleeve for that?
I have something coming up online with something like that, but I don't know if I can talk about it yet. So
that's good enough. I mean, I'm sure people.
But as far as the next BIMI is concerned, I definitely wanted to do it again in next February, and just I kind of want to do that shit every year. I don't know if there's a way to do it in person. I don't know if I can afford that, but if there is a way,
sponsors,
yeah, I mean,
anyone's listening,
sponsor, especially if fucking like NAACP or like fucking HBCU want to sponsor that shit, I'd be super down to do it in person. It'd be hard though, but I'm down. If not, we could just do it online. It's cool that whoever asked that. I do think it's an uncomfortable situation for Melee players because we as Black people are a small minority. And I think that is something that we don't really talk about in the scene as much, that I think people need to be aware of. And don't get me wrong, you have like a lot going on in Melee, and you know, I get how things like that become political for some people, but you know, I think at least regarding Blackness in Melee, we just kind of get pigeonholed in what we're known for, but you don't really talk about it on the grand scale. Like for every Black player, there's like hundreds of people who aren't Black. So I think just having a space like that for us, especially during, like, man, shit was fucked up last year. Just like that type of shit, I think it's important. And not even just for just like Black people, but everybody. And then just other groups, should they ever want to do something like that. Like, I'm all for it. Like, you know, what Gale does. That's why we put the gay one on there, right? Like, you know, like, you know, anything regarding like Asian hate and stuff like that. Like, I'm all about people celebrating who they are and stuff like that. I just felt like for us, for me, just having the ability to TO it, you know, I wanted to just try to do it and not feel, because at first I was scared of starting problems with the scene, but like people being mad at that kind of proved my point on like why I feel like shit like that should go down. And like I want to do it regularly, you know, if I'm given an opportunity to. And I hope, I'm glad people liked it, you know. And yeah, I guess my thing is just to try to point out that thing, or that fact that, you know, just, you know, I really want Black people to know that, you know, there are people, we exist in this scene. Because I think going to tournaments, being Black, at least I can't speak from anybody else's experience but me. You know, there's times where, like, there's been a lot of times too where I've gone to tournaments and like I'll run into somebody and he's like the only Black dude, me and him, and then this person, he'll be like, "Yo, appreciate what you do, man. It's kind of hard for me to get adjusted to this because I'm kind of out of my element." And I don't know, shit like that really like motivated me to do it. But yeah, I guess to follow up with your question, I expect something in 2022, maybe something within the next couple of weeks should I am able to announce it. But what I'd be doing next wouldn't be like a BIMI or even a tournament, but it would be, I don't know. You guys will hear about it when it drops. I can't talk about it, but at least with BIMI, I want to try to do something next year. Definitely online, if not in person. So we'll see.
Hell yeah. I think events like the BEMI and what you mentioned with Gale and you know, all the different charity events that we saw pop up is one of the more incredible things to happen in the Melee scene throughout Slippy, throughout the age of Slippy, I'll say. Yeah, I think great question from Wills and an amazing response on your end, because I think you're right. You nailed it on the head there.
And then real quick too, like I saw in the chat, like BAP and Salt was nuts. A lot of people didn't even know they were Black, and like shit like that, I wanted to really put emphasis on too. You know, that it like that Blackness is a spectrum. Like, yeah, me and Axe don't look anything alike, but we're both Black, right? And I feel like people forget that shit sometimes. But yeah, I'm done with the question. I just wanted to yeah. Yeah.
I have another question from Tuesday.
Shout out to Tuesday.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna paraphrase this. Brandon, you are very good at Melee. So that's something that people don't know. I learned this the hard way playing you at an Evo after party way back, but you are indeed a solid player. And with that in mind, I want to ask you, do you have any goals for what you want to accomplish at your next LAN major, or just when LAN comes back in full force? Last time you were on the show, you were willing to talk about this in pretty big detail. So I'm curious to hear like if you have any goals as a competitor. That
for sure. For sure. Is depressing. You're asking me this, or Tuesday? Is that Preston Tuesday? Tuesday ATX.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yo, shout out to Preston. That's my boy. Man, I'm not sure. I do think, especially watching Summit, I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to try just one time. You know, I've like opted in the voting, but I never like tried to get in. I thought about it, and I still don't know. I'm kind of scared to try because, you know, commentary is just like safe for me. But it'd be nice to try to compete in Summit once, but it not to be. I don't want to compete and just like go there and the struggle's real. Like, I want to be able to feel like I can win the shit or like beat hella people if I go. But yeah, I'd have to practice a fuck ton. Where I'm at right now, I don't feel like that would happen, but I don't know. It's crossed my mind, and like, especially now with like, you know, rollback rumbles are kind of taking a hiatus. We're all like exhausted from it. It makes me be like, man, I really want to grind the game. I still think I'm like trash, but I don't know. I think it'd be nice to try to compete once, just for real. And I think I can, like, in my head when I watch a lot of the players work, I'm like, man, I can match this ethic. Like, I could definitely do this shit if I really tried. But I don't know. I got to try. So I guess a goal of mine would be to try to compete in the Summit one day.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how far I would go. But, you know, I mean, the fact I remember one of the last tournaments I entered was Levo, and I beat Travioli on some stupid shit, and I beat H-Twa, and like both of them are really good. So I'm like, well, I'm still like okay at the game, you know, not that bad. So
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
we talked about it. So we had you on the Melee Stats podcast way back when, with Savers Entitled.
Oh yeah, when I addressed him, I forgot what it was. Oh no, he was saying that me and Oscar were just like legacy picks. I was like, nah, bro, the fuck out of here.
It's so funny, because like, I think Lovich probably falls into a category because of the Leffen win, and just the history that he's had, where people probably know him more as a player. But like, there's so many Melee players who people only think of as commentators. I think you're a perfect one. We talked about Vish earlier. Toph. I don't know if Toph gets enough credit. I think him playing more recently, entering more tournaments, because he's been on a little bit of a grind in terms of online stuff. Like, I think maybe that helped with people. But even then, like, you could just the list kind of goes on of all these people who, like, all the people I mentioned, top 100 at one point. And I think if you get into the scene right now, yeah, you take that all for granted. And one funny thing that we mentioned in that episode 3 years ago or whatever was that I said Yipes was top 10 in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 at some point, and Edwin didn't know that at all. Edwin was like, what? I thought he was just a commentator.
Yeah, I genuinely had no clue at the time.
Yipes is like a titan. Like, so you know how like they have the 5 gods of Melee? There's like the titans in Marvel. It's like Yipes is one of them.
Justin Wong, Santhrax, maybe.
Yeah, Sanford, and then who was the last one? I think it's Eddie Lee. Or no, Duck.
Yeah, I was so stunned. I couldn't believe it when you told me. I was like, "What? Yipes is a top player?"
Dude, it's like it's so funny because he was so good for the obviously while that's like a kind of cool parallel to Melee, because it's like this old game that people still hold up. Obviously, the parallel kind of drops off because they didn't have like continued tournament entrance to that level. So it's tough to say, but imagine if like people are like, oh, PPMD is the commentator, he's good? I didn't know PPMD was good.
Right, also, Koopa, you're right. Phil's fucking ridiculous.
Even Phil, yes, that's a great one.
Even right now. There's a lot of players, like, I guess commentators who get pigeonholed in that box. But I mean, I don't know. Eventually, I used to get mad at it But now it's kind of just like, I don't know, man. Eventually you wake up and, you know, the moment people think that, it's just like, if anything, that's a buff for the commentator. Because then that's how you lose to a commentator.
Yeah. I mean, I think Slime ran the Scar, a good example. Fendi. Slime ran that the invitational for the commentators. I think that was such a cool thing to like shed light on the fact that these like people actually who you only see talk about the game, that they know a thing or two. They can play the game pretty well. I think that was such a cool thing for him to do.
Right. Nah, for sure. I think for me, also another thing to add to the question, because I said getting a summit would be cool. I think what makes me want to play more and why I've been grinding, if you've watched my stream in the last 2 days, I've just been only Koopa, you're in chat. We're probably gonna play after this. I've been playing a fuck ton of Marth. Is because I got sponsored now. And I feel like I have like a moral obligation to like try my best. Like, it's not just, oh, I'm a content creator or a tournament organizer person. Like, I'm gonna try my best to get good at the game, and should I lose, so be it. But I feel like with like me getting like paid to do what I do, I feel like I got an obligation to work towards it, to actually improve. So yeah, that's another reason why I'm like gonna try to enter more, practice more, just play more.
I think it's clear to anyone who's in the scene that your work ethic is amazing. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're the type to give yourself that credit, but you definitely deserve it, because you have been, if it's one aspect of Melee or another, you've been putting the work in for definitely longer than I've been in the scene, longer than a lot of people have been in the scene.
I appreciate that. And I guess my thing is, and this is what I have to tell myself, I've helped and done shit like that for everybody except myself. So when it comes to playing, this is the one time I'm like, all right, dude, you got to do this for yourself. Like, not for the scene, not for fucking Melee, not for people to be happy, but for Brandon, for you. And like, that's the one thing, because I feel like with work ethic, I really do think I can do that. I just have to like, I think when it comes to dealing with people, I don't want to let anyone down. I want everybody to be happy with what's going on. And so, I guess people pleaser. So I do my best to make sure I'm doing right by people, but I never do that with myself. And I think with competing, that's my way of trying to do it for myself. And that, honestly, it's the hardest shit. I wish if I could approach playing like I did commentary and TOing and all that shit, I think I'd be like a fucking top player. Like, actually, like no question. Just because I'm so hard on myself and shit like that, and I'm like really working my way to get out of that. So
you beat Plup. Just I gotta do that a few more times.
Fucking forever ago, but I think I can do, and I've done shit like that in friendlies. I've bodied all of your favorite players in friendlies. I've done that, but like, for me to say that is always hard. You know, I always be like, oh, you know, they're too good. I do that shit all the time, and it's not to say that I'm like lying per se, but I got like really bad imposter syndrome, and me trying to compete right now, especially with me being sponsored, I feel like I just have no excuse, and I got to work on that. And so that's like why I really want to compete. And I guess the goal would be for a summit spot, or try to get there, try to qualify. That'd be so badass. But I think I just tend to do a lot for a lot of people in the scene, and I'm really glad to be able to do that. I'm blessed, but I definitely think for my own sake, like, I feel like I've yet to show how good I am. I feel like everyone kind of knows, but like, there hasn't been a standout. There may be an upset, but there hasn't been a performance that I've done that it's like, yeah, I've known Brandon was this good, and I'm like, my goal eventually, even if it might not be at like a summit or whatever, I just want at some point before I stop playing for that to show, and I'm gonna work towards it.
Well, I think just to be honest about this, I think you have shown it. You made top 100 multiple times. You beat some of the best players and in the history of our game in sets, but on stream, off stream, whatever. I think I think for anyone that has like functioning eyes and has been following the scene for
Thanks.
a while, you have proven yourself as a player.
Well, I appreciate it. Bro, I always thought I had a run that was crazy and no one talked about it. Was it Evo 26? I can't remember, 27. It was an Evo. I beat like Connor, Dark Rain, Silent Wolf, like all back to back, and just I was like, bro. Like no one saw that. I was making feel about it. I was like, dude, they're all hella good, man. But yeah, I definitely need to I want to do it currently because I think why I'm not in the top 100 has just been me falling back to doing TO work and commentary. But like as far as like skill wise, I'm definitely top 100 right now, free. I don't fuck if people think that or not. I am. I think even top 100 players will give me that, you know. But as far as like me getting better and shit, like I still, like I was saying earlier, I feel like I owe it to myself to try to, like, I gotta go hard for, I gotta treat myself like if I were the scene. If this was the scene, I'd do my best to be like, what's the best experience possible for everybody, and like I gotta do that with me playing. I'm gonna try. Shout out to everybody who's willing to play me, and everybody's so nice to me. So I'm really thankful for that. Shout outs like 100 grand. Always want to play Koopa. Just I feel like I have like dope people who are willing to help me. So shout outs to them.
Yeah, Koopa's the homie. Koopa's so good.
Yeah, Koopa's a legend,
dude. Yeah, I mean, I loved hearing you talk about that. Like you obviously have all this clear passion. I think anyone who doubts you, dude, they're on the wrong side of this whole thing.
They can't. I mean, that's fine. I understand it. I'm not mad at it. I just think for me personally, like I just want to show, and I feel like everybody knows it, but there's nothing to show it as far as like, and I mean, upsets are one thing, Edwin, because I know I'm talking like, oh, Waff got 5th at some tournament. He was projected to get 65th. I'm trying to do some shit like that. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna work hard at it though. It's for damn sure. It's gonna be hard, but I believe.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is what a wonderful way to we're kind of nearing the end of the show. What a wonderful way to cap this off. Like I've been having, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you about all these different facets of Melee. Be it, you know, obviously we talked about like some of the best Melee we've ever seen, and then we talked about the up and comers. We talked about your career. I appreciate this so much. You're like such an amazing guest to have on. What we like to do, because we talk all about Melee, we talk about every aspect of Melee today. What we like to do is we like to talk about something outside of Melee that has been something that interested us recently. Because like what we are, obviously we care about Melee so much, right? Like me and Edwin were doing a weekly show. And Be Sinister, of course, too. We're talking about Melee every day to each other, and talking about Melee weekly to the wonderful people who watch this and listen to this. And you yourself, obviously dedicated to Melee, but like that's not our entire lives, right? So what we like to do is we like to talk about something that has been interesting us recently. I guess before Edwin talks about how many calories he ate today, I'll go off. Recently, I've got a friend who actually moved from Oakland. He moved from Oakland back east, and he had a friend. This two of my friends from high school. They did like a whole road trip back. One of my friend met him out there, and then they did a road trip back. Damn. And I got to see all the pictures, like Grand Canyon, you know, Zion. Dude, I think they went to Yosemite, like all these amazing things. And seeing all those pictures, I actually I had to do it right here. So I got this. Yeah, I got this wonderful camera. It arrived today, so not really been able to take a lot of photos. I took a photo of my CRT. That was the first one. But I'm so excited to use this. I've got a couple of friends who are really into photos, and someone who I should shout out, who we already talked about earlier, Tuesday. Super into cameras, wonderful resource. He was able to talk to me about stuff that I wanted. Was really able to help me.
Dude, I love Tuesday. That's like one of my Preston is one of my favorite people in the scene, man.
Literally,
I genuinely got love for that dude.
Just name a thing, and he will have information flowing. He is such like anything you could think of. He will give you constant information on it, and it won't come off as like pretentious. It won't come off. It'll just be like the kindest, like most helpful information.
Right. He's a good guy, man. And he knows a lot about, but like you said, about, like, who the fuck knows this? He's just like, yeah, man. If like we were talking about, I'm gonna go back to what you're saying, but I guess like, what's the shit when you go underwater? Is it snorkeling?
Scuba, is that the one where you
or like, scuba diving, where you go and like you can go through like caves and shit underwater? Like, he knows about that. He said, yeah, I did that for like a year or something. I'm like, what? How? Who? What? So yeah, Tuesdays. I don't know, man. I got love for Tuesday, man. I talked to him. Like, we have this little Discord. There's not a lot of us in there, but I always make sure to talk to him, man. Just such a homie, super homie.
All right, Edwin. I guess you're gonna talk about how much cottage cheese you ate today.
No, not this week. I gotta talk about something else that I've been reading quite a bit about. So, as many of you know, I do a bunch of like writing for the DSA also. So I write a lot about politics on the side when I'm not doing melee work. And for anyone who's interested in just like progressivism or anything of that strain, I think there's a tendency to sometimes like compare like historical projects or look at where we want to be or whatever in Europe. And I actually think high key, if you consider yourself a progressive or you're just interested in that kind of stuff, you should study Latin America a lot, especially like the rise of the pink tide, like the fall of the pink tide, the recent resurgence. I've been doing a ton of reading in particular on like Argentina, and I just think it's like super interesting because like Latin America, like just in general, like both Central and South America is usually seen as like separate from the rest of the quote unquote third world, which is Africa and Asia. But like one of the reasons it's seen as separate is because they became like a lot of those nations became independent like much earlier than the rest of the other like nations did during the 20th century or so. So there's a bit more of like there's a really interesting like mix of like intercultures in like many of those nations that's like not monolithic at all. There's a lot of like really and there's just like a ton of interesting history. I'm pretty familiar with like Bolivia and Venezuela, but like I've been reading a ton about like Argentina a lot in recent times, and I just think it's really fascinating, and like Peru as well. And I think people should if you're interested in like internationalism or that kind of thing, Latin America is where it's at. Like,
okay,
study
that's
that.
cool. I heard isn't Honey Box Argentinian? I heard he's like from Argentina.
I think he's born there, right?
Yeah.
I'll ask him what he thinks of Kirchner.
Edwin, it's every week. It's funny. I'm like, I like this album. I think this album's pretty good. And then it's either talking about how many calories you ate that day or trying to radicalize our guests. I gotta appreciate it at a certain point.
What was the consistency? I'll have something different for next week.
All right, well, I'll believe when I see it. Brandon, obviously, you've been really busy with a lot of things recently, so I don't know how non-melee your life has been, but like, what have you got going on that's been something in your life?
Yeah, I guess I'll tell you a goal of mine. So like, I've had this goal in the back of my head, and like Summit was a fucking wake-up call. So like, I've been wanting to get back into basketball because that was kind of like my melee back before melee. And I kind of chalked myself by just having shit grades, stopped playing, got into melee, stopped playing. And, I got, gained a little bit of COVID weight, like flabby. If you've noticed me and you've met me, especially like in 2015, 2016, I've always been like fucking hella in shape. That's always been my shit. Now I'm not, right? So I go to fucking Summit and play basketball, and we're just huffing and puffing down the court. And I mean, I still won with shouts to saying $100, but I feel like that shit would have been free if I was in shape. Fucking free. So fucking free. And I'm like, dude, all right, man. I can't have this shit. Like, I gotta get back in form, get back on my shit. I played Aiden in a one-on-one, beat him 5-1, got him up out of here. But I'm saying, like, I'm not like toned or none of that shit, bro. So I'm trying to hit the gym, bro, like 5-6 days a week, bro. Just like on some. I went yesterday. I've been kind of weird about the gym though, just because I was around so many people this last week between Summit and my aunt's funeral and shit that I'm kind of nervous about being like in public. So I've been like doing my little self quarantine. So I might just do some workouts at home. Until then, I'm not sure, but my goal is to fucking get back in shape, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like I said, man, you pull up, get a set, you pull up me and Plup, right? Like I'm like, I got a big ass shirt on, but I'm like, bro, I was out here back then. So I'm trying to get back on that wave. I'm trying to get back to where I was just in great shape. And I still worked out during the pandemic, but I was never consistent. So I'm trying to consistently do it and get good at basketball again. Because I was like, even though like we won and your boy went off, I have fucking 7 rebounds, 3 points, 1 assist in a 5-point game. I digress. Anyway, that shit would have been fucking free if I was just in shape. I stand on that. And I don't even care who I team with. I could have teamed against Tuesday Angry Bucks. I firmly believe that. At least amongst smashers. Granted, I don't think I'm amazing at basketball, but I feel like I'm good enough to dust off smashers. There's probably one smasher who's like godlike that I don't know about, but I was just like, fuck, man, you gotta get back on your shit, bro. So I went to the gym yesterday. I was debating on going today. I don't know, but if anything, I'm gonna do just like a house gel workout or something. It's probably what I'll do. Something along those lines.
I know that Edwin right now is kind of he's in workout mode. I just had a vacation, so I mean this was a couple weeks ago. So in my mind, I'm like, in my mind, I'm still on vacation, but I eventually will get back into that. Ambi's always in that mode, I think. Chroma, to mention another person like that. So yeah, at Genesis 8, we'll make a pact. We're all just gonna be ripped.
No, at Genesis 8, I have to be ripped by then. Chroma is my fitness therapist.
We're all gonna be Genesis. We're gonna be ripped at Genesis 8. We'll go to actually, Edwin. We'll find our way to Summit 12. We'll try to get in on this basketball team. I don't know how many.
I don't know if I'll be good. I don't know if I'll be good at basketball, but I'm gonna try to outperform some. I won't name names, but I'm gonna try to look better than some of the people that played basketball that weekend.
Let's go. Let's go. I believe, bro. They're trash. You can do it.
It definitely made me feel better about myself because I watched thinking I'd by far be the worst person out of everyone there, and I felt bad. And then I saw a couple of the matches, and I was like, you know what? I think I could set a few. I could set a few picks. I'll pay
the only people who were like decent, Aiden, fucking Mikey, and
Mikey, yeah, for sure.
Hussein was all right too, and. Yeah, everybody else was like fucking trash, bro.
There's some people who had some okay things.
Yeah, Aiden and Mikey are probably the best.
Put me on Mikey. I don't know how many fouls are going to be called, but I play dirty defense.
Let's go, bro. Me and Shape, I'm dusting everybody. Let it be. No, I was confident we'd win, but. Even after winning, I was like, bro, we could have just actually just destroyed them if I was just playing better. I mean, that's how I felt. I was like, bro, I gotta get back in the gym, bro. I can't. This is unacceptable, man. And plus, I'm trying to like swaggy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta change. I gotta stop wearing beanies all the time. I think my goal with my life is just to give. I used to be dripped up and shit at tournaments, man. Now I'm just wear shirt, fucking sweats. Just call it. I'm tired of looking.
Yeah, that's how I've been that way for the last year. When I come back at Genesis, I want to look really good and dress like that.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Edwin, I'm with you. Well, let's one day we'll commentate and we're gonna look fly as hell. We're gonna be ashamed. Got you, Genesis. I'm out. I'm telling you, Genesis. I'm about to look proper.
Genesis, we gotta step up for Genesis and Summit 12. You'll win basketball and you'll be there as a competitor. I'm calling it now.
Oh, let's go.
None of that
You gotta
competition.
enter. You gotta enter though, Brandon.
Yeah.
What little you've entered is pretty good, but let's see more.
I know. I haven't. I entered Gomline this year. I lost to Azul and Eddie, and then before that was Levo, and I lost to Kadoran and Joey in a game. I lost to Joey in game 5. Oh yeah, another goal of mine, because me and Kadoran always have banter, is I'm dusting him off before I play Melee, or before I stop playing Melee. That is a quote. It's on my soul. Put this shit on Twitter when I beat him. That is happening. That's my boy, by the way. I actually love Kadoran. So I'm not.
We've been huge Kadoran fans since before he was ranked, for sure.
Kadoran.
But I believe it.
Too. I think Kadoran's an amazing player. I love watching him, but I'm dusting him off. That's gonna happen. Because what started this was I was like, GG's Kadoran, he 3-0'd me, fair enough, better player. He was like, yeah, fortunately you had to be one of my first victims. On some anime shit, I was like, hold up.
I heard that in his voice, and it became like 10 times funnier.
I was just like, bro. I was like, Kadoran, no.
Good games, man.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that you became one of my first victims.
He said that, and I was like, on my soul, Kadoran, I'm fucking bodying your shit. One day before, I don't care if I lose 30 times in a row. I don't care if the record is 80-1. I'm getting the 1, bro. I'm getting the 1. Just
I imagine Kadoran saying it with like a smile, like a smirk on his face. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Kadoran is great though. He always tells me I'm not gonna hold back. He's like, and I respect that. He always he helps push me and challenges me, and I like that about Courtney. He makes me feel uncomfortable when I play, and I think that's good, because you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And yeah, I think having a goal for it, because I don't have any players that I just want to fucking destroy. But I like Kadoran. I respect him so much. I want to dust him off so bad. I think it would be godlike too. It'd be hilarious. Just imagine me 3-0 on Kadoran, bro. I think that should be hilarious. I personally, if I had to pick somebody, that's who I'm 3-0. And I'm waiting for I played so bad, Falco's. I'm retweeting the fuck out of that shit. Just let it be known now. But yeah, how I actually feel about Kadoran, I love and respect him. Great guy. Yeah, he's the only one I can say this shit, and I know he wouldn't really get offended. He thinks it's funny too. So, but I mean, I am going to dust you off, Kadoran. Just let it be known.
We got to get him on to see what he thinks.
Yeah. Oh no, bro. On average, he could. If we play right now, I'm getting 3-0. I know that. For the 15 sets I lose, I'm gonna get 1. But my point is, I'm getting 1. That's all.
You just gotta play with $100,000 enough times.
Oh yeah,
$100,000 gonna.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely gonna happen. If I play all these Mars, shout outs to Koopa, shout outs to $100,000 MT. I've been playing all of them, man. Eventually, I'm trying to just beat every Mark player I run into in bracket. That's also another thing, but that's neither here nor there. Kadoran specifically, I'm gunning for, because when we play, I get triggered playing him, and it feels so good to just beat him just off that. And he called me one of his first victims, and fuck out of here with that shit. And you guys know, when I feel away and I start talking shit, that is like a buff for me. Like, if I actually want to fuck you up, I probably will do it. So yeah, the last time someone did this to me, shouts to Kai. I got to put you on blast. He's a Marth player, really good back in the day. He beat me once, right? And I found out a fucked up way. So I was on Shroom's Facebook, like, looking for something. He was like, yeah, go on my computer, whatever. I check it, and, Jose Kai was like, yeah, I beat Waff. I was playing really good. I fucked him up, blah, blah. And I was like, so mad. I was like, yo, when I play this guy, I'm about to dust the living shit out of this fool. 3-0'd him, triple 3-stocked, beat him on FD twice. It was terrible, and like I loved every minute of it. So I'm trying to do that to Kadoran. But we'll see. He's like way better. He's top 20. So. I don't know. But I all in all, it's actually not really a rivalry. One, because Kadoran's way better than me, and I think he's a great player. I genuinely think that. So shout out to Kadoran.
Just one set. That's all you need. Just one set on stream.
That's facts. That's all I need, bro. I don't even care if it's not on stream. We got Slippy VODs now. I'll upload them shits to Twitter or whatever the fuck, you know. So yeah, that if I have to pick a person I'm aiming for, shout out to Kadorian. And it's Falco Mars. I love beating Mars because fuck that matchup. Falco can win, but fuck that matchup. So yeah, that's all. I'm just ranting now.
No, this is great. Yeah, well, obviously, when you get that one, we'll all go back to this.
Yeah, well, you know, I know you guys do the stats. Just forget the 1 in 30 part. You know,
maybe we'll lose a couple of the sets. Maybe they,
you know, you know, just you know, they never happen. You know, just they weren't streamed, didn't count, bro. But nah, I don't know. I guess to back to the question was the outside of melee stuff is just to get back in shape, try to get swole, get ripped, all that bullshit. I got a lot of COVID weight on me, so I'm trying to get it off.
Yeah, dude. When you whoop Kadorian, you'll be jacked as hell.
Oh yeah, that'd be fire. And the hair will look spiffy and not like this crazy fro shit I got.
Yeah, you'll have the drip. You'll have everything.
Yeah, it'll be dripped out. Imagine me dusting off Kadorian looking fly as fuck too. I encourage that timeline.
I can't wait for it. Looking forward to it. And then you dunk on him as well or some shit.
Right. Yeah, it says nobody beats WAF XL. Yeah, nobody beats WAF 50 times. No, I'll tweet that. That'd be a fun tweet. But yeah, you guys got anything else? Or we just vibing or what? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you have given us so much here. I've been so appreciative of all this. In fact, like I feel bad for all the people who probably tuned out after Edwin started talking about Central America and South America.
Hey, that sounds kind of lit to me, man. As someone who likes learning about other countries and continents and stuff, I was like looking at some stuff on like basically how Africa got to where they were, and that shit was really interesting to me. So,
Waff, I have a book I'd love to recommend.
But you probably hear this shit every week, so you're probably like, bro.
Look, I appreciate it. All I'm saying is that I don't know if the Spotify listeners, if they hear that and they just close out the app, but if they did, they missed out on some wonderful stuff because you gave us so much to work with here. Did the entire episode. You were such a joy to talk to, and I mean, I appreciate you being on so much. You are someone. And like I've been so fortunate to be able to say this to so many people and to mean it every time. But like on this show, I get to say this to like guests we have all the time. You were someone who I watched when I first got into Melee, and the ability to just cut it up with you today. What an amazing experience! You know, everything you bring to the community. Like I cannot even start to name all the stuff that you've brought to Melee, and like. I appreciate it more than I could ever say. So
likewise, man, I appreciate, you know, you only good as the company you keep. So I appreciate you guys just taking time to even like, not only just say those things, but just have me on, you know, because sometimes, you know, you could do work like what we do and, you know, people don't notice, you know, not everybody people don't give a shit. Right. So the fact that you guys take your time out to, you know, give your boy his flowers, man, I really do appreciate that, man. And, you know, shit like that is like, you know, it's, you know, why I do what I do is because, you know, makes people feel welcome and shit, you know. So thank you.
Yeah. Man. Well, speaking of the stuff, do you have anything you want to plug right now? Obviously, you got your Twitch stream, you got your Twitter. Like, what do you want to plug?
Yeah, Twitch. I'm going to be streaming a lot more now because everything's over. Rollback Rumble's probably going to be on a hiatus for another month. We probably won't come back to September. I feel like we're all kind of burnt, all the TOs. So, you know, I just think I'm probably going to rest on that. So,
your team definitely deserves it. If they want to watch, are you still the Waffles 77 on Twitch?
Yes.
Twitch.tv/Waffle77.
Yeah.
Twitter is twitter.com/YoungWaff.
Yeah. I need to have the same things across all platforms, but yeah, if you guys want to follow me, man, just peep the Twitter at YoungWaff. Stream Melee. Probably going to be streaming Strive and more Street Fighter. Because Street Fighter, I had a trajectory where I was like almost getting Diamond, and I want to crack Diamond. So, yeah. So you catch that, and then I'll try to get to Celestial and Guilty Gear. And, of course, Melee. I'm going to be playing a fuck ton of Melee. Go watch me at 100 grand, where, you know, basically my plight to shit on every Marth I play is through 100 grand, and people like Koopa Troopa and MT, and like shouts to all the Marth players because they're actually very, very, very chill people. Good group of people. Every Marth player I've met is fucking mad nice, even though they get shitted on all the time because of their character. But they're good people.
There's a notable
Brandon,
exception.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I might be the least chill Marth player.
You
I think
so?
I think every like incredibly off-puttingly intense stereotype most people used to associate with Marth players just about applies perfectly to me.
You think so? I don't know. You're a really nice guy, and when everybody is just like, "Yo, Marth are shitters. How can you play a character like that?" But every Marth I meet, they're like really cool. So, and Marth players are way like they're super down to help you in a matchup that like a Spacey main would never do. Like I feel like a Spacey or as a Fox Falcon player, I'd be like, man, I'm not trying to do that shit, right? Whereas like a Marth main, yeah, man, let's play.
It's Zane's influence. Zane is such a good role model.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, such a little beacon of positivity.
Right. Shouts to Zane, man. We need more of that, bro. We really do. But
I think we're getting that.
Yeah, I think we are. I think a lot of that shit gets overlooked too. But yeah, Edwin, you're oh no, you're nice to me. I think you're a really nice guy.
I don't know. You got to read his columns. I don't think he's too nice.
Oh shit.
And if you want to read those columns, you can do so at meleestats.co. Monday Morning Marth wins Melee there every week. I mean, you shouted out our Twitter. And if you want to see local daily reporting on locals, you can do so at twitter.com/meleestatspod. Melee Stats YouTube channel. We're always trying to work to churn out those long form content, the Melee Stats films. And if you want to watch these episodes on YouTube, you can do so at Melee Stats Archive. Twitch, obviously, you're watching twitch.tv/Melee Stats. And if you just want to give us money for all the work we do, patreon.com/Melee Stats. You can support us there. Like you guys, I got to say, Brandon, you're supporting us here by doing this, and it's amazing. And I want to shout out to all the viewers we have right now. And I see a lot of names in the chat, which are people who are subscribed to us on Twitch or are people who are giving money to us on Patreon. And I really want to shout out what everyone's been able to do to help us out.
Let's go. Yeah, I see a lot of names in here. Seal, Practical Task, Koopa, a lot of Curly. I know you asked a question about Brian F. I did not answer that. But shout out to Brian. That's my guy.
You want to answer that as the last thing we say in the episode?
Yeah. What was the question? Like, what do I think about Brian F. or something like that?
I think he was trying to get you to make Brian F. a Sheik or Falcon main.
Oh, is that the question? Can I convince Brian to do that? I have no idea. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I mean, shit. He said he wanted to do Fox, so I was just like, all right, man. You sure? He was like, yeah. I was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah. It's like, all right, man. Just know the struggle's gonna be real. I think playing Fox as your first character is like fucked up. He's not a good first character in my opinion. But yeah. Can I convince Brian to be a Sheik or a Sheik or a Falcon player? I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe you can ask him, man. Shouts to Brian. Maybe one day. I think Sheik would make, or one of those characters would make the most sense to him. I think it would make more sense than Fox initially. But yeah. From a Street Fighter perspective, at least.
Well, how about this? We'll get him on and we'll just berate him until he becomes one of those.
Hell, let's go.
Although I don't know. Edwin's kind of quaking in his boots at the idea of one more Sheik or Falcon main entering the world.
Specifically the Falcon part.
Oh man.
I don't mind the Sheik players.
That's kind of crazy. I feel like Sheik's more annoying if I were the main Marth.
I think Sheik is tougher, but I think Falcon players, particular like where their strengths are geared and like what's good about their character, counters a lot of like intuitive Marth strengths.
Yeah,
that's really, really annoying. Like they have to, like if you move really predictably or if you try to like hit them immediately after they throw out something that can still move out of it, it's like you will get blown up. Or if you're just like not fully attentive when you have them on a platform or in disadvantage, they'll just like slide off,
they'll
stomp knee
reversal
you.
out. Yeah, what about Pikachu? I feel like that looks hell annoying.
Don't. Oh my god.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah, that's a whole nother
that's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole episode right there. I can tell.
But I mean,
we should probably end it here.
Yeah, speaking of episodes, I think you've given us so much to work with. I think I don't want to spend more of your time. You've been such an amazing guest here. I definitely want to thank you. I want to thank all the people who are watching. And this is it for Waiting for Game. Check us out next week because I don't want to give anything away. And I know I say this at the end of every episode, but I will say next week is actually a little bit of a special episode. I think you guys will dig it. So thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.
Peace.
Oh, have a good one.